Karibu member. From wherever you are watching us in Nairobi, Kenya, and around the world, this is KBC Prime Edition. The time, 9 p.m. East African. Good evening. My name is Mboya, top in this live broadcast.
"10 years down the line, we would want to be remembered as the presidency that slayed the dragon of corruption, wastage, mismanagement."
Living within your means, Agano party leader launches fanfare, free manifesto, promises 50% cut on pay as you earn. Leaked video recording. Deputy President says he was acting within his position as principal assistant. And do you know how you are required to cast your vote? Welcome to Channel 1 Simulation Voting Studio. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Lensa Odingo is our sign language interpreter. Our socials at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle at Tomboya24. Hashtag Prime Edition. Straight to our top story. Agano Party presidential candidate David Mwaura Wahiga launched his manifesto detailing his plans for the country should he ascend to power come August. In his 12-point manifesto, Mwaura said that his government will focus on eliminating corruption, wastage, as well as mismanagement of the country's resources. He further pledged to waive 50% of pay as you earn, and also to waive all tax penalties accruing to the date he is sworn in. That is, if he is elected the President of the Republic of Kenya. Nancy Okware opens our coverage with that report.
On Monday, Agano Party presidential candidate David Mwaura Wahiga launched his manifesto outlining his plan for the country if elected president during the August 9th general election.
And my running mate and I are asking, why don't you try us?
Mwaura becoming the fourth and last candidate to launch his blueprint. The Agano candidate saying that he was getting into a covenant with Kenyans to fight corruption and return all wealth illegally stashed abroad.
10 years down the line, we would want to be remembered as the presidency that slayed the dragon of corruption, wastage, mismanagement.
Mwaura saying that in order to effectively deal with corruption, his government would form a Truth and Recovery Commission to spearhead the conversation on corruption in the country and help recover all funds lost through corruption, which he estimates to be 5 billion shillings a day.
Within the first 10 days, we shall give a moratorium to anybody who is holding any money they know they got it corruptly. Public money, they got it corruptly. Also, any money illegally stashed abroad, return our money back. We shall institute what we are calling a Truth and Recovery of Stolen Money Commission, which will expose and name and shame.
Mwaura noting that in order to address the high cost of living, he would introduce unga and other food subsidies, waive 50% of pay, and waive all tax penalties accruing up to the date he is sworn in.
Actually, in our opening speech, we shall officially reduce the pay that's paid by Kenyans by 50% to enable Kenyans have some money with themselves, be able to meet their expenses, be able to feed themselves, even at the minimum to have 1 meal per day instead of 2 days.
The Agano Party manifesto has also outlined plans for effective governance at the devolved units by increasing county allocation to 40% and allocating a minimum of 50 million shillings to the lowest level of the county, the village council.
What we'll do is that it will take government, not just money, government to the lowest echelon and unit of Kenyans.
The Agano candidate questioning some of the proposals in the other presidential candidates' manifesto, terming them as lacking integrity and values.
And it is so dangerous to vote in somebody who has no regard for processes. We must be a government of processes. The other problem with Kenya has been impunity.
You want to vote for a leader that is not tainted in vices like corruption, tribalism, nepotism, adultery, greed, and abuse of power.
With the 4 presidential candidates having officially launched their manifestos, the stage is set for the August 9th general election, with Agano's David Mwaure saying that Kenya was ready to experience what a new set of leadership has to offer. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto says he does not regret supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta in the 2013-2017 general poll. Speaking in Meru in reference to a leaked video, the Deputy President said he acted in the best interest of the President as his principal assistant. Here is that report.
The Kenya Kwanza team was in Meru County for the 3rd day. The team led by the Deputy President William Ruto traversing the county to seek support of the locals.
Mugeni kaere! Bwana Yesu asifiwe!
Speaking in Kidhirune Central Imenti, the Deputy President defended comments made in an audio clip attributed to him, saying he was acting as the principal assistant of the President after the presidential results were nullified in 2017 general election, a move he said had positive results.
Hata kama mimi nililazimisha Uhuru Kenyatta aendelee na campaign ndio tushinde uchaguzi, hakuna makosa nilifanya, ama mnasema nilifanya makosa?
The DP saying Kenya Kwanza team had a clear plan on how to change the country economy.
Juzi tuliweka manifesto yetu, tukasema priority number 1 ni kupunguza gharama ya maisha. Wananchi wengi wanahangaika, wananchi wengi wanalala njaa.
Leaders who attended the meetings defending him, saying his track record speaks for itself.
We were very clear. Our party leader William Ruto made it clear. We will eliminate cartels and state capture, and we will fight corruption.
Sisi tuko na akili nzuri ya kumchagua kiongozi ule tunataka akuridhi wewe. Asante sana, asante sana.
Deputy President's reaction to that leaked audio and not video, as I mentioned earlier. But let's stay with politics. The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Deputy Presidential Candidate Martha Karua has called on the Maa community to turn out in large numbers and vote for Raila Odinga next month. Karua says Raila has the community's interests at heart and will work to ensure that all the promises that he made during his campaigns are fulfilled if he assumes office. Karua, who was accompanied by a host of leaders to the Azimio campaigns in Narok, said that the war on graft will be given prominence in an Azimio administration. Timothy Kipnusu is on that political beat.
The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Deputy Presidential Candidate Martha Karua and the Azimio Brigade took their charm offensive to Narok County. Karua used the platform to root for a Raila presidency, saying he will effectively deal with corruption.
Ukitaka kujua ahadi ya kweli, lazima serikali ipambane na ufisadi, pesa yenu isiporwe, itumikie mahitaji yenu. Tusipopambana na ufisadi, ahadi itakuwa ni ya mdomo. Katika serikali ya baba, nitapatiwa hiyo kazi ya kupambana na wafisadi.
Karua said if elected, she will use her position as the Justice and Constitutional Affairs Cabinet Minister to lead the crusade against graft.
Uniangalie vizuri uone mimi sicheki na sichezi na kazi. Kwa hivyo wafisadi waelewe, pesa ya umma haitapatikana tena.
Leaders accompanying Karua urge voters to reject corrupt candidates and elect leaders purely on development track record.
Sasa hii timu Martha Karua, Mkisa Kitui, Anyang' Nyong'o, Kivuza Kibana, Okonchela, tumekuwa pamoja kupigana vita dhidi ya wizi. Raila kwa hiki kitendo amethibitisha kwamba kweli serikali yake itapigana dhidi ya ufisadi. Government ambayo inakuja ni county government ya Azimio, na tutafanya kazi na serikali ya mama Raila Odinga. Tumesikia mashida yenu, mambo ya maji tumepanga kabisa, na tukiingia tu tunaleta maji hapa. Narenga sababu maji imejaa hapa, ni kuweka tu pipes, kuweka tangi na kulete maji kwa watu.
Their sentiments were echoed by Nairobi Woman Representative Esther Passaris and former Nairobi Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi.
Mungu ametuzalia, Raila Amolo Odinga ametupatia Martha Karua, si ndio? Sasa huko juu tuko na mama pia. Chief Justice tuko na mama. Tunataka wamama waingie ili sasa mama ndio anajua uchungu ya kizazi.
Let us not allow again us going to have a pull and push in parliament instead because of numbers. If we want to see a new government in this country, let us give it to Raila Amolo Odinga.
They said that no one should seek position with the sole aim of setting political scores.
The character of the person is revealed, and I think this is God's way of showing us, choose wisely as Kenyans. We're a very spiritual country. It is enshrined in our constitution. Let us not mock religion. Let us be people who are upright.
Every Kenyan in this country is blessed by God, and every tribe is blessed to lead.
Timothy Kipnoso for Prime Edition.
Now let's move straight into the corridors of justice. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has been barred from gazetting the names of Mombasa gubernatorial candidates and printing the ballot papers until a case in which Mike Sonko is challenging his omission is heard and determined. The three-judge bench constituted by the Chief Justice has also barred Wiper Democratic Movement from replacing Sonko as its gubernatorial candidate. Sarafina Robi reports.
It's a reprieve for Mombasa gubernatorial aspirant Mike Sonko after Mombasa court stopped the printing of gubernatorial ballot papers until his case is heard and determined. Sonko had moved to the court to challenge the decision by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Dispute Resolution Committee to deny him clearance to vie.
Shida iko mahali kwa sababu katiba ya Kenya huwezi apply kidhuluma. Hati mtu akwenda nyumbani unamfavor mtu mwingine so tumewachia mahakama, sitaki kwenda kuongea mambo mingi, mahakama itafanya kazi yake.
The three-judge bench consisting of Justice Olga Sawe and Onginjo and Githinji also issued conservatory orders stopping the IEBC from gazetting the names of the candidates in the Mombasa gubernatorial race. The judges further stopped the Wiper Party from nominating another candidate pending the hearing of the petition. Sonko and Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja have found themselves facing an uphill task in the quest for the gubernatorial positions.
That degree is from a university recognized in Kenya. My Lord, the returning officer confirms that those two conditions under Regulation 47 were met.
IEBC, on the other hand, is pleading with the court to throw out the petition seeking to stop clearance of Sakaja, citing its tight time frame. The court will deliver its judgment on the same on the 8th of July. Sarafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Now, human rights activists want government to demonstrate that it's doing its best to protect women as well as girls from sexual violence during the electioneering period. Mulika wa Bakaji Campaign Consortium, which brings together over 30 civil society organizations, say that women and girls have suffered sexual violence in the past elections, a situation that must be avoided. The civil society groups now call on relevant authorities to ensure that the perpetrators of rape and defilement get convicted to ensure justice for the victims. Here is that report.
Peace Brigade's International National Coordinator, Alberto Fade, said from the previous experiences there has been an increase of sexual-based violence during electioneering period, a situation that must be addressed.
When we are talking about sexual gender-based violence, we are thinking mostly about women. But that's not the case only. It is mostly the case, we have to say. But victims of rape and defilement are also men, young children, and this is an issue that deserves the attention of the entire community, and the victims deserve the support.
PBI project officer expressed the need to have a special and broader focus on the impact of sexual and gender-based violence during the electoral period.
There is a need, an increase in the need for safe houses for survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. This is because sexual and gender-based violence tends to increase during this period.
Women rights defender hub coordinator Salina Masharia said victims of sexual-based violence require psychological support to cope with the effects of the violence subjected to them.
You've seen issues of depression, suicide emanating from the act that happened to them once upon a time. Number two, you'll also realize the perpetrators, maybe at one point, they were also violated. So we're talking about a cycle of rape and defilement.
So we are calling on the government to at least have specialized courts for sexual gender-based violence and other gender-based violence cases. This will increase convictions, because we're seeing that we're having cases as far as 207, the other elections that are still in court.
Mombasa, Kiambu, Nairobi are among areas mapped as possible electoral-related sexual violence areas, with calls to ensure prevention mechanisms are put in place. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Now, the National Prayer Committee is calling on Kenyans to continue praying for the country as it moves closer and closer to the general poll. Committee chairperson Bishop Jesse Ireri says that the current political situation calls for a stronger relationship with God. Ireri says that the committee will, on the 28th of July, convene a 3-day prayer session at the Kasarani Stadium to petition God for a peaceful election. Here's that report.
As the country heads to the August 9th general election, Christian faithful have been asked to fast and pray for the country. The National Prayer Committee says it will convene an intercession at the end of the month.
The meeting or the event will be in Kasarani for 3 days. That is on 28th and 29th and 30th of July. That is on a Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, 31st of July, we'll have the climax of the meeting that will begin at 2 p.m. All the other days will begin from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., the 3 days. But on Sunday, we are going to do it from 2 p.m., that is on 31st July.
Bishop Jesse Ireri says peace must prevail at all costs.
Everybody maintain peace, the politicians, the Kenyans, and also the media. Make sure whatever you say, whatever you do, is not going to cause any kind of tension. So be also positive in the way you report. Let everybody, young, old, politician, churchmen, non-churchmen, anybody in this country remain peaceful.
Key highlights during the 3 days will be prayer for peace in the prosperous nation, together with the healing of the economy.
But to repent, to ask God to forgive us, because we have seen in the past examples of nations, especially if you read in the Bible, when they sinned against God, what happened? And because we don't want it to happen in our nation, that's why we are calling upon the name of the Lord.
While challenging political leaders to shun selfish interests, Bishop Ireri called on Kenyans to turn up in large numbers and pray for the nation.
And we pray that, Father, you bless even the leadership.
Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
A man in Nairobi's Maringo estate has caught the eyes of the locals with his unique artistic creations. Boniface Maina, a carpenter, he has a wide range of art and furniture, but it's two of his latest pieces of work that is providing fodder both online and within the estate that he lives in. He has made 2 chairs, one for the president and the other for Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga.
They say necessity is the mother of invention, and one Boniface Maina is optimistic that his artistic creations can successfully ride on the back of the ongoing clamor for political positions. The 44-year-old father of 4 uses bamboo to make furniture and art for sale. Today, he shows us his latest prized creations. 2 chairs themed around 2 of Kenya's renowned political figures, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Azimio la Umoja flag bearer Raila Odinga. We ask Boniface what inspired him to pump resources into the project and to what end.
Nimekuwa fan wa Raila Molo Odinga kutoka kitambo. Raila ameniinspire sana kwa sababu ukiangalia kwa the second liberation of Kenya alikuwa kwa forefront fight ya rights za watu na ame contribute a lot kwa demokrasia ya Kenya. So nika feel neza muriward.
Boniface says he can't hide his admiration for the president and the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate.
Kwa any field lazima kuwe na criticism. Hata ukifanya hata Moses alitoa watu Egypt akawapeleka Canaan. But majority of Kenyans najua wanaona Uhuru amefanya kazi mzuri.
Boniface says in a good month he makes 50,000 shillings from the art, but he can make more income if the business environment was more conducive.
Msivoti ati chama, unavote individual. So cause hiyo ndio mistakes ufanya alafu tunarudi tuna complain. His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta na India President-elect Raila Amolo Odinga.
He challenges the youth to exploit their abilities and make a living and help reduce the high rate of unemployment.
Well, that story brings us to our first break right here on KBC Channel 1. Remember, in a short while, Channel 1 Simulation Voting Studio, IEBC, and Kenya Broadcasting Corporation are conducting a mock balloting exercise. Why? To create awareness on voting procedures ahead of the August 9th poll. Plus, coming up also, the day's business, and Karen Kibet Marakwet with the day's sports. Stay with us.
Marching to the D-Day. But do you know what is required of you to exercise your right as a voter on the 9th of August when you get to a polling station? Join KBC Channel 1 on Monday, the 4th of July, 9 p.m. Prime Edition as it teams up with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for simulation exercise on the voting procedure.
The genre has since spread to many nations around the world, and Kenya is among the countries with the most reggae fans.
One of Africa's mega superstar, Davido, is set to be part of Chris Brown's project Breezy Deluxe.
The Lewa Safari Marathon at the Lewa Conservancy.
As an artist, you have to develop a character, like apart from your personal life, you know. Africa sound is not just Afrobeat and Amapiano. There are a lot of amazing sounds out there.
Hey yo, Mr. DJ, make I hear you sounding. Can't stop, cause we dangerous, 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 dangerous.
Welcome back, our socials at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Tomboya24, hashtag Prime Edition. Moving on from access to free quality education, addressing the national teacher shortage, improving learning outcomes to implementing a sustainable school feeding program, education remains a hot topic ahead of the 2022 general election. Safina Chieng unpacks the manifestos of both Kenya Kwanza Alliance on one side and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance on the other, breaking down the plans for the country's education sector.
Participated in the bottom-up forums, the hustlers.
Both the Kenya Kwanza Alliance and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance manifestos seek to fix the inequitable education system, but through different modalities. On the cost of education, the Azimio team, led by Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, commits to, if elected, waste not a single child by making sure every child has access to free, quality education from primary to university level. For William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagwa's Kenya Kwanza, they seek to improve the capacity of day secondary schools to guarantee access to affordable and quality education. To further reduce the cost of education, the coalition promises to introduce a special tariff for utilities for learning institutions.
Education is going to be free. By free, I mean free. Truly free.
The two manifestos are telling us that it is totally free. When your child goes to a school, the child goes to school free. So what all Kenyans should be asking and be worried about, the cost implication, where is it going to be? Because somebody has to pay for it. There is never free lunch in this world. If we talk about free education, it means somebody somewhere is paying for it.
On the school feeding program, Kenya Kwanza pledges to double the amount of money allocated to immediately raise the number of beneficiaries from 2 million to 4 million.
We're going to double to 4 million as national government, and every county that want to match, we are going to assist them to match a shilling for a shilling so that we can move the number of our children who have food in school to 8 million. That's our target.
If Raila clinches the top seat in the August 9th polls, he will facilitate the provision of one nutritionally balanced free meal per child attending the early childhood development class and lower primary. The Azimio coalition also hopes to establish a national fund to ensure that students across the country have equitable access to bursaries, with the Kenya Kwanza Alliance intending to cast their net wider to ensure inclusion of learners with disability.
We also agreed that we increase capitation of pupils living with disability by another 50% and set aside 15% of public funded bursaries set aside for pupils living with disability.
Both parties are also keen on addressing the current teacher shortage crisis.
600,000 teachers will be employed in the next 100 days when Azimio takes power. That's a big thing to chew for any economy, for any system. I don't know how the payroll will look like. I don't know how the interviews will be done. I don't know how they don't give us how they'll do it. Now, that's where these manifestos fall short. They give us what they'll do, but they don't give us the structures of how they will implement them. The one of Kenya Kwanza is actually even more convincing to any teacher who listens to what they're saying. In this way, in two tranches, they're saying they'll be able to employ the shortage of teachers. The shortage of teachers in this country at the moment is 116,000. That means approximately around 50,000 teachers. If they can employ 50,000 teachers in 1 year, another 50,000 teachers in another year, it looks reasonable because we have been employing around 10 to 20,000.
The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance has promised to, among others, improve the working conditions, welfare and training of teachers, with the Kenya Kwanza pledging to motivate teachers by paying for the teachers in service training and restructuring the delocalization policy to introduce special allowances for teachers working away from home. Regarding higher education, Kenya Kwanza proposes an increment in the funding for institutions of higher learning, which, according to the Deputy President William Ruto, face a huge debt burden.
Most of our universities only get maybe 50%, maybe 55% of the money they require to be able to run the programs they run. And as a result, universities have 65 billion shilling debt to NHIF, to NSSF, to pay as you earn. So, in fact, the Auditor General said the other day, all our universities are technically insolvent.
Yes, these universities need the money. You need to tell us, what do you want to do with these universities so that they can get money? Now, I can give you a good example again from Kibaki time. Kibaki came up with something called parallel programs within the universities. These kind of programs, like parallel programs, exchange programs, are the ones that build monies for colleges. We needed to hear from those manifestos telling us, what are these universities going to do to get money? We can't just be injecting money to them as taxpayers and then the money just disappears.
Kenya Kwanza also plans to establish a national skill and funding council to synchronize issuance of scholarships. On the Azimio la Umoja manifesto, Raila proposes a review of the Higher Education Loans Board lending model by expanding the limit to reflect the cost of living in Kenya, as well as removing the interest rates accrued and Commission Reference Bureau listing of the graduates. A key pillar of the education agenda is the promotion of technical training. Raila proposes to, among others, increase enrollment in technical and vocational education and training institutions, as well as provide adequate funding to mid-level colleges and TVET institutions to offer quality education. But if Ruto wins the election, he vows to construct fully equipped technical training and vocational education training institutions in the remaining 52 constituencies within the first 2 years of his presidency.
You know, TVET education is a very specialized kind of education. If you are taking education to wherever, Homa Bay, Huisero, wherever, and you want to take there a college, a TVET, you need people qualified who are able to teach. If it's masonry, if it's plumber, if it is whatever, you need the teachers, the know-how, the people who know it. And that's what they needed to tell us first, how they're going to train the people who know carpentry. I like what the Azimio now says, that they're going to come up with a special way to grade the people, the Juakali sector, for example. Now, you see, a person in Juakali sector knows how to work with wood or with metal. That person needs a good certificate, so that with that certificate, he can be employed to become a teacher in a TVET.
Comparing how the manifestos address the rigidity of the education system, the Kenya Kwanza administration seeks to review the current exam-based system of academic progression, while a Raila Odinga presidency promises to initiate the recognition of prior learning certification program to recognize workers with skills that do not necessarily fall within the formal education system.
We cannot really do away with exams. The thing should be, or we should be being told, is measurements. Tests and measurements, that's the right word. Remove the word exam, but bring in the word tests and measurements. So these measurements are able to measure every level of every person, every student who comes to school. We are not really examining them, because exam comes with pass and failure. But tests come with, have you reached the level or have you not reached the level? So that's what our politicians need to be talking about. But they are already addressing it. When we hear things like CBC in the Azimio manifesto, when we hear the deputy president in the Kenya Kwanza also talking about reducing exams, they're already addressing it, because exams have locked out many of our people.
And to support research and innovation, Ruto has committed to increase funding to research and development institutions from the current 0.8% to 2% of the GDP, while Raila promises to establish a research and design fund for students who develop innovative solutions, products and services.
Education remains a key pillar in the economic revolution, which the political players hope to steer if elected on the 9th of August, whose approach to this critical sector will augur well with the interest of Kenyans. Only time will tell. Safin Achieng Oma, Prime Edition, Nairobi.
That's right, only time will tell. Now, at a time when senior women civil servants were few and far between, Dr. Sally Jepngetich Kosgei not only reached the high glass ceiling, but also shattered it to become an internationally respected diplomat and later on a politician as well as a member of the cabinet. This week on the cabinet, we focus on Dr. Sally Kosgei, who first served in the regime of President Daniel Moi and later on that of President Mwai Emilio Kibaki.
Dr. Sally Jepngetich Kosgei was the second woman to become a permanent secretary in 1991 after Margaret Githinji, who was PS in the Ministry of Commerce. President Daniel Arap Moi trusted her with some of the most difficult tasks of his 24-year tenure. Beneath her quiet and media-shy demeanor was a skillful schemer, so good at behind-the-scenes mechanization that she was able to survive in a field crowded with men. Her reputation preceded her in Kenya and in global diplomatic circles. Many Kenyans remember her weeping outside State House Nairobi in 2002 as President Moi was airlifted to his Kabarak home after handing over the reins of power to his successor, Mwai Kibaki. It was a solemn moment. Kosgei was born in Aldai, Nandi district in 1949. She attended Alda Primary School before joining Alliance Girls High School for both her O and A levels. After high school, she went to Dar es Salaam University, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Education. She taught briefly at Nakuru High School and the University of Nairobi before she won a scholarship to pursue Masters of Arts and PhD degrees in History and Political Science at Stanford University in California in the United States. Between 1978 and 1981, she taught at the University of Nairobi's Department of History and Archaeology. In 1981, she joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as the first Secretary of UN Habitat. She then held the position of Senior Assistant Secretary Africa and Organization of Africa Unity, OAU, Acting Head, Africa and OAU Division at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In 1984, Kosgei became Kenya's High Commissioner to Zimbabwe. She was transferred in the same capacity to the United Kingdom as well as Ireland and Switzerland in 1986 and held the position until 1992. She represented Nairobi in London during a time of strong political headwinds, with the clamor for multi-party politics growing. President Moi and other African leaders suddenly found themselves out of favor with their foreign allies as the Cold War ended. President Moi was facing a legitimacy crisis as there was increased suppression of free speech and many opposition leaders were being jailed. Notably, the February 1990 killing of Dr. Robert Ouko, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and the ethnic clashes of 1992 were some of the issues that Kosgei had to grapple with during her time in London and during her formative days as PS for Foreign Affairs under the Cabinet Minister Ndolo Ayao. Kosgei vigorously defended Kenya and at one point issued a rebuttal to the British media on its coverage of the unraveling events in Kenya in the late 1980s and early 1990s. As for breaking through the proverbial glass ceiling, she was a diplomat at a time when nearly all the 150 Kenyan foreign missions were headed by men. In December 1991, Kosgei was appointed Permanent Secretary for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and was sent to restore Kenya's image abroad following the ethnic clashes in Rift Valley province. She was transferred to the Ministry of Finance in 1997. In 2001, she replaced Dr. Richard Leakey as head of civil service and secretary to the cabinet. She remained the civil service boss until President Moi left office. In 2007, when Uhuru Kenyatta joined the opposition, Kosgei abandoned KANU and joined the Orange Democratic Movement Party under the tutelage of William Ruto. Then a principal in ODM in the Rift Valley region, she ran for the Aldai constituency seat and won. When the election results were released declaring Kibaki the president, her constituency was one of the most affected during the violent clashes that ensued. During the Kofi Annan-led reconciliation negotiations in Nairobi, ODM used Kosgei's consummate skills in reaching an agreement for Grand Coalition Government, the Government of National Unity, headed by Kibaki as President with Odinga as Prime Minister. She was later rewarded with a ministerial post heading the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology. The coalition government created the new ministry, carving it out of the mainstream Ministry of Education. The new ministry's role would help to pass biotechnology bill and establish at least 4 technical universities. In 2010, Kosgei traded places with Ruto, becoming Minister for Agriculture in a reshuffle of the coalition government. Here, Kosgei helped distribute 490 metric tons of drought-tolerant seeds worth 78.8 million shillings that had been donated by the German government. The seeds were used in Ukambani region during the short rains of 2011. At the time, drought and famine were ravaging parts of the country. In the 2013 general election, she lost her seat to Cornel Sarem and was appointed Chancellor of Taita Taveta University in 2016. Kosgei has maintained a low profile from the public eye since she lost her parliamentary seat in 2013.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Good evening and thank you very much indeed for joining us. Time now for Business News. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Well, Kenya has officially launched the Nairobi International Financial Center in a drive to deepen Nairobi's status as an African financial hub. The center is expected to market Kenya as the investment destination of choice for global conglomerates. Head of Public Service Joseph Kenyo has said the trade hub will serve as a center for innovation and a one-stop shop for investment. The center is modeled along the Dubai and Hong Kong financial centers.
The Nairobi International Finance Center was mooted in 2008 to support the transformation of Nairobi into a financial hub. The center, which is a creation of the Vision 2030, was signed into law in 2017 but did not go into full operation due to financial and administrative delays. A board to manage the operations of the center was appointed last year, and the Treasury also published regulations to operationalize the act in December.
We will be leveraging existing verification models and brokering networks to standardize, regulate and promote Kenya's existing production of carbon offset activities internationally. The center's partnership with Air Carbon Exchange and the Nairobi Securities Exchange will therefore be a significant milestone for Kenya.
Head of Public Service Joseph Kenyo says the center was long overdue and will serve as an African financial center, betting on innovation and research to attract investment in Kenya.
We have a robust financial sector capable of raising funds for projects, support innovation, and tap into the new investments that are coming to Africa. Developing Nairobi as an international financial center was therefore born out of our deliberations on the most effective framework that we needed to achieve this particular objective.
These areas of focus present the best growth opportunities for the continent, as well as the increasing importance of green finance and financial technology in future economic growth. I think we've covered also great milestones in the area of green financing.
The centre will partner with the National Treasury, Central Bank of Kenya, Kenya Revenue Authority, and Ken Invest, among other institutions, to market Kenya. A financial centre is a hub with a high number of commercial banks, asset managers, insurance companies, and thriving financial markets. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani says the Nairobi Financial Centre targets to attract more than 2 billion shillings by the year 2030. Last year, United Kingdom headquartered insurer Prudential became the first NIFC certified firm, with plans to move its regional headquarters to Nairobi.
Kenya and the UK can look back with pride, I think, on how much deeper our relationship has.
Nairobi County, the city under the sun, a regional financial sector leader, and now foraging into the carbon exchange trade. Hibak Saeed for Prime Edition from KICC.
Only 6 out of 47 counties have working spatial plans and land use policies for implementation of long-term goals on land use management. Cabinet Secretary for Defence Eugene Wamalwa says the counties of Lamu, Makueni, Kericho, Baringo, Bomet and Kilifi are leading the pack in sustainable development, urging their counterparts to do their part to ensure that they have spatial plans in place to facilitate the use of land sustainably.
The National Land Use Policy provides a legal, administrative, institutional and technological framework for optimal utilization and productivity of land-related resources in a sustainable and desirable manner at the national, county and community levels. The government hopes to use this policy to address various challenges facing the land sector in the country.
When you're looking at land reforms, land is a very emotive matter in our country. We have had very many problems in different parts of the country, clans fighting, people losing lives, and whenever we have elections also, we have a lot of problems over land.
Speaking at the launch of the National Spatial Plan and National Land Use Policy Monitoring and Oversight Tools by the National Land Commission, stakeholders noted that devolved units still had more to do in making sure implementation of land policies proceed unheeded.
We are urging the county governments also do their part to ensure that they have spatial plans in place. It is actually a legal requirement. We would like them to do more than they've done.
There are some statutory milestones that were expected of counties through a certain period of time, but unfortunately only 6 counties out of 47 have actually finalized their county spatial plans as contemplated in law. And what we have seen is that there's a challenge.
At the same time, the National Land Commission says with the launch of the toolkit, implementing agencies ought to regularly prepare status reports to the Commission in order to monitor progress. To achieve this, the private sector has been urged to help build capacities in the counties.
I think there is an opportunity for stakeholders like us, one, to be able to contribute in catalyzing the development and implementation of the same policies. We believe that as non-state actors, we still have a role also to contribute in monitoring and reporting of the progress that we've made as a country.
Besides addressing land injustices, the national government hopes that the incoming new county governments will use the new policies and tools to guide controlled land use. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Well, lack of access to information on available affirmative action funds and investment opportunities have been identified as key challenges bedeviling women in business. Stakeholders are banking on the implementation of a common agenda for women's economic empowerment, dubbed NABWI, to assist in the identification of critical areas of success to inform future planning for government-driven affirmative action funds targeting women and youth.
The government has for years rolled out various affirmative action funds, including the Women Enterprise Fund, Youth Enterprise Development Fund and Uwezo Fund, under its transformation and empowerment agenda. However, lack of access to information has seen women locked out.
We talked to many women and Youth Enterprise Development Fund, but we found that women in various counties in Kenya, where we've been able to talk to them, they actually do not know about these funds. And so the issue of creating awareness is at the forefront, that there are funds that women who are finding it difficult to access finances from the formal financial systems can be able to access these finances and invest them in their businesses for the growth of their businesses.
A study done by the University of Nairobi Women Economic Empowerment Hub, a program hosted at the African Women Studies and Research Center, showed that awareness of affirmative action funds is low, thus impacting the uptake.
This then leads to the need to create an ecosystem. On one hand, government has pursued as a strategic vehicle the East African community, and therein the ability to access markets on a level playing field, addressing harmonization of partner state policies, legislations, regulations, standards, addressing the need for interconnectivity by way of infrastructure, telecommunications, and so on.
Further prohibiting the effectiveness of the funds is low loan amounts available for the beneficiaries relative to the mandates, limited human resource capacity available for the administration of the AAF funds, politicization of the funds that often negatively affect repayment, and the low beneficiary repayment rates. Researchers are banking on data to correct this. Professor Wanjiku Kabira challenged women entrepreneurs to venture into cross-border trade, buoyed by the entry of DRC into the East African regional bloc.
Many opportunities are coming up in terms of the East African community, COMESA, and now the African Continental Free Trade Area. Opportunities are opening up for women, and women account for 70% of those people that are participating in small-scale cross-border trade. We found that women actually still face major challenges, one of them being access to finances. Another thing is lack of capacity and understanding of the legal frameworks that govern these regional trade arrangements.
Plans are underway to review common market protocols to enhance intra-regional trade.
Focused on finding ways in which we harmonize all activities pertaining to our protocols, like the Common Market Protocol, the Common External Tariff, all of which to nurture markets into high-value propositions and the return value proposition for sustainability.
Lack of access to information may be about the legal requirements or even where the funds are available when it comes to affirmative funds are some of the challenges that have been identified that are prohibiting women from fully actualizing their potential and their participation in the commercial space. Stakeholders believe that research and data that is focused on women is to correct this. I'm Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Bureau of Standards has published more than 200 standards targeting different sectors of the economy. The standards have been categorized into 7 groups targeting food and agriculture, chemical, cosmetics, standards, service, leather and textile standards. KEBS Managing Director Bernard Njeraine has said the standards will ensure proper adoption of IT infrastructure, which is vital for service delivery in the digital space.
Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating.
The Standards Agency has also rolled out a new smart application feature to help ease the process of registration and certification of standards. KEBS say the smart standards will feature fully customized documents that are easily readable and transferable through system automation as opposed to the current manual system.
Smart standards. These are standards that are machine applicable, readable, and transferable, and hence the acronym SMART. Standards that are machine applicable, readable, and transferable.
International Standards Organization President Edin Njoroge has said the use of standards is important and an effective means of increasing economic production.
Sectors that rely heavily on standards such as robotics, precision manufacturing, construction are coming to recognize how standards that are integrated into their processes can improve efficiency and make their products safer and more secure.
Among the featured standards is the quality of education and learning services through online platforms. KEBS says the standard is intended to provide specific requirements for distance learning services.
The standard will also ensure adoption of proper IT infrastructure which is vital for service delivery, especially on digital space. Finally, I urge all industry players present today to take advantage of standard development and fully implement them in their operations to facilitate trade.
The newly formulated standards will come into play within the next 6 months. Reporting for Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
Well, and report just getting to our studio indicates that a matatu in the name of Mboya has just been involved in another accident on top of the expressway. This comes less than a month after one person died in an accident along the Nairobi expressway. In case you're just joining us again, I just want to bring you up to speed with the latest where another accident along the Nairobi expressway has just happened a few minutes ago. We are yet to understand whether there are any casualties involved, but our teams are on the ground. But the matatu that was involved in that accident is the Mboya. So we're still trying to collect more information, and of course we're going to share it with you. Stay right here. Let's now turn our focus now on to the health, where Kenyans have been urged to consider insurance consultations before committing to health insurance packages in order to narrow down on the most ideal insurance for their lifestyle. Aon Minet Kenya says insurance uptake in the country stagnates below 3%, mostly fueled by poor perception of the service and mismatching of insurance to clients.
Minet Kenya's General Manager Francis Maina says despite an increase in the uptake of health cover during the advent of coronavirus, a majority of Kenyans still remain on the sidelines of taking the essential cover due to misconceptions.
To increase penetration by training Kenyans, creating forums for Kenyans to be educated on insurance products, expectations of what they should be able to get from the products that they get from the market. So we hope with time that will be able to increase.
Minet Kenya says insurance consultation is key before committing to a cover where an analysis of one's lifestyle is assessed and the best insurance package is narrowed down to.
Client risks, especially things like health risks. We want to make sure that our clients are aware of the risks that they face. We all know that chronic diseases account for 39% of deaths in Kenya, and therefore people do not even know they're walking around with these chronic diseases, which are silent killers.
The firm notes Kenyans are keen to learn more about health insurance, and the sector lacks severely in customer sensitization.
But you need to understand what your cover is. Nobody ever reads the fine print. So for instance, you've got a medical policy and you want to travel abroad, but you don't do your homework. Your policy only covers you locally. So I think it's important for us to have the inquisition and to understand what it is our policies cover.
Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
Well, and at that point, we come to the end of Business News tonight. Remember, for more information, always log on to our website, www.kbc.co.ke/business. And I want to end at this point by giving you up to speed with the latest news that is streaming into our newsroom, where another accident at Mlolongo has just happened involving an Mboya matatu. We are yet to understand whether there were casualties, but police are on the scene. This accident comes less than a month after another accident happened at the same place, where unfortunately one life was lost. We are keeping tabs on that developing story, and of course we shall be updating you accordingly. That's business for now. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Karen Kibet is coming up next with Sports News. Good night.
Our arts and entertainment industry has evolved over the years.
It is at such times that our destinies are written.
Will we rise up in courage or die in cowardice?
Who are the movers and shakers in film and theatre? Get trendy as we review locally produced films and stage drama every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Cinemas and Theatre.
Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
The genre has since spread to many nations around the world, and Kenya is among the countries with the most reggae fans.
One of Africa's mega superstar, Davido, is set to be part of Chris Brown's project Breezy Deluxe.
The Lewa Safari Marathon at the Lewa Conservancy.
As an artist, you have to develop a character, like apart from your personal life, you know. Africa sound is not just Afrobeat and Amapiano. There are a lot of amazing sounds out there.
Hey yo, Mr. DJ, make I hear you sounding. Can't stop, cause we dangerous, 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 dangerous.
Welcome back to Prime Edition. Let's now delve into matters sports. My name is Karen Kibet. The national tennis team led by Africa junior champion Angela Okutoyi will take part in the Billie Jean King tennis tournament set to be held in the tennis club in North Macedonia between the 5th and 9th of this month. Other players in the team include Rosehilda Asumwa, Cynthia Cheruto and Alicia Owego. The tournament, which will be played in a round-robin format, consists of 2 groups of 4 teams each. One team will be promoted to Africa Group 2. The Kenyan team, which has been preparing at the Nairobi club for the past 1 month, finished 20th last year after losing all their matches in Lithuania. Moving on, the national basketball team Morans has been eliminated from the 2023 World Cup qualifiers after losing all the matches at the Africa qualifiers held in Alexandria in Egypt. The team, coached by Cliff Owor, missed the opening match against DRC Congo after failing to travel to Egypt on time. The International Basketball Federation has not rescheduled the match but insisted they awarded maximum points to DR Congo. Morans started their quest to qualify for the Global Festival during Winter 1 Games in Dakar, Senegal in February, but lost all their matches against DR Congo, Egypt and Senegal. The team needed to finish 3rd in Group D to advance to the 2nd round of the Africa qualifiers scheduled to start in August 2022. The National Rugby Sevens team Commonwealth Games preparations are in top gear, with every player fighting for a place in the final team, which will be named later this month. Head coach Damian McGrath says he is under pressure to name the final team but wants to give everyone a chance to prove themselves. The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be held from the 28th of July to 8th August and will be televised live on KBC Channel 1.
National Rugby Sevens head coach Damian McGrath says every player is working hard to make the Commonwealth Games team and has injected new blood from the ongoing series to gel with experienced players. McGrath looks forward to take rugby back to its glorious days, starting with the Commonwealth Games where they hope to go past the knockout stages.
It's always easy to pick out 20 plus players who everybody says can play, but then you always come across these little diamonds in the rough who have that magic that you think you can polish. And the great thing is, we think we've found 4 or 5 players who, maybe not for now, but in the very near future, will be pushing to play for the Shujaa.
Team captain Nelson Oyo says they are putting a lot of effort to ensure they go back to their winning days and asked Kenyans to rally behind the team in Birmingham.
The new coach has brought in a good game plan that favors our strength in terms of speed and strength, and he's trying to improve our soft and hard skills, and again he's trying even to improve even the environment in terms of the environment in the team, and currently everything is good and the mood in the camp is very positive.
Kenya reached the semi-finals in the previous edition of the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, with their best placing being at the 2002 Games where they won a ball.
Rome wasn't built in a day, and I'd love to say that I've got some magic dust that you can just sprinkle on and we'll be back to those glory days of maybe 2-3 years ago. We're building slowly. The only thing I think we look to be better each tournament. We can't be any worse, I think, than the last two legs where we finished rock bottom. So we're aiming to always go up one step. If the players play to their potential and players they've been training, and we can get to the knockout phase in the Commonwealth Games, then we'll be a dangerous team to meet.
The 2022 Commonwealth Games Rugby Sevens tournament is set to kick off from the 29th to 31st of July at the Coventry Stadium. The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be held from the 28th of July to 8th August and will be televised live on KBC Channel 1.
Faith Cherono and Weldon Langat are the winners of the 13th edition of the Nandi Road Race held in Kapsabet on Sunday. Cherono took charge of the race from the onset, leading the first pack comprising of Daisy Kimeli and Zena Kipto. Cherono crossed the line taking a time of 34 minutes, 20.89 seconds, while Daisy and Zena completed the podium dash. In the men's category, Weldon Langat took a time of 30 minutes, 9.89 seconds to finish ahead of Titus Kipruto and Amos Kiplagat, who took the second and third positions respectively. Now the winners walked away with 80,000 Kenyan shillings cash prize.
Walianza kuweka juu base, mimi nilienda tu hivyo, sikurudisha chini, nikaenda tu hivyo.
And those are all the sports stories we had for you tonight. I'll see you tomorrow with more sports news, but the bulletin is not yet over as Tom Mboya has something special for you tonight. Tom, take it away.
Many thanks indeed, Marakwet, there for that very sporty update. As I'd indicated earlier on in the beginning of this live broadcast that we were going to show you, to reveal to you the Channel 1 simulation voting studio. It's the first, a partnership between IEBC and your national broadcaster KBC. And what are we doing here? We are conducting a mock ballot exercise. And the reasons are very obvious: to create awareness from wherever you are in Nairobi, Kenya and around the world on the voting procedure ahead of the August 9th election. And remember, it's only 35 days, by the way, before the election. So right here, a complete setup. We have a booth, we have the voting materials, we have the voting clerks, you can see them there, all the three of them, and of course we have the presiding officer who I'll invite to come and stand next to me. She's a presiding officer for this mock ballot exercise, but she is a gazetted returning officer. Beatrice Muli, thank you very much for finding time to come and join us on this very, very important exercise. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Are you all ready?
Yes, I'm ready. And we are ready.
Ah, that's great. So, in the interest of time, I just want us to go straight to it. Obviously, the Constitution provides that after every 5 years, we're going to have an election. The law prescribes on how that election is going to be conducted. And of course, the Act talks about the specifics. So I would want you to start by walking us through what should the voter expect. He has arrived in the station, all right, and I can see him walking in very slowly. That's our voter. It's a mock simulation, and he has walked in. So I want you, for the sake of the viewer, to start us off. What should the voter expect on that day?
Thank you very much. On the polling day, on the 9th of August, we will have our polling stations opened to the voters at exactly 6 a.m. in the morning.
In the morning?
Yeah. And so the polling station will resemble what we have here. And we're also going to have agents who will be allowed into the polling stations, and we're also going to have observers.
So those agents are from the various political parties?
So agents will be representing various political parties and also various independent candidates. Now, once a voter walks into the polling station, they will find the queuing clerk.
And that's the voter?
And that's the voter here with us. So
you can just walk us through, because we have the voter there?
Yes.
All right.
So he will find a queuing clerk outside the room, outside the polling station room, and the queuing clerk will direct him to the right polling station, because he will have been trained on how to identify a voter's name and place them in the right polling station.
Yes.
So once he's inside the polling station, he will find the presiding officer who will also welcome him or her, and then he will find the clerk number 1 or the first clerk. So the clerk will be there, and what the clerk will require from this voter is to first to confirm if this voter has any signs on his fingers of voting.
Why are they doing that?
So they will have to confirm if this voter has voted or not in this particular election.
Okay.
Because when you vote, a small a mark will be put on the small finger, especially the left finger.
All right. So you want to make sure that he has not cast a vote anywhere in this election.
So so we want to make sure that they have not cast their vote, and therefore he is a fresh voter.
Okay.
And so he will be asked to produce the document that he used during registration. And so if he used an identity card, he will be required to produce an identity card. And for this case, he has produced an identity card. Had he used a passport, he will be required also to produce a Kenyan, of course, valid passport.
Okay. So the document you use to register is the one you must present to the officer?
Yes. That is what the law requires.
Okay.
So from there, he is going to be identified using the KEBS.
So that is the KEBS kit?
That is the KEBS machine, or the KEBS kit. We call it the Kenya Integrated Electoral Management System, because it has all the systems. It has the system of identifying a voter, and it has the system of transmitting results. And in that system, we also have the voters register, the national register.
What do they mean when they say the biometrics?
Now, the biometrics here will refer to any of the 10 fingers. So once he places one of the fingerprints on the fingerprint scanner, then his details, because he's a registered voter, should be able to pop up in the KEBS machine.
Okay, so his profile is on a central database somewhere, and the KEBS kit can recognize him and, give all his details there.
Yes, because the register, we used the biometric voter registration kit to register voters. And the details of those voters were uploaded. That data was uploaded in the KEBS kit. So the KEBS kit carries all the register. It carries all the voters in this republic. So once his details pop up, he will be allowed now to proceed.
By the way, before you go to the next stage,
yes.
What about if that KEBS kit, let me frame this question this way. In the unlikely event that the KEBS fails, and technology being technology, what happens? Is there any contingency, for instance?
Now, for the last, we conducted elections in 2017 using the KEBS machine. It never failed. We have conducted several by-elections since 2017, and the KEBS kit has never failed. So we don't expect the KEBS kit to fail. However, the Commission will be giving a way forward, because we also have a provision in the regulation that provides for the use of the manual register. So the Commission will be giving a way forward, whether we shall have the manual register or not. But for the meantime, we want to assure Kenyans that the KEBS kit is going to work, because it has worked in all the elections we have conducted.
And I know the matter is before court, so it may be prejudice, but it's sub judice to go into the merits. So after that, now we move to the next stage.
Now, after that, the voter will be allowed to move to the next clerk, and he will be issued with the presidential ballot papers. We have the member of National Assembly ballot paper and the county assembly ballot paper. And the ballot paper must be stamped at the back, and especially the top back under the counterfoil. So she will pluck it out, and then she will stamp at the back at the top back, just to ensure that it has our security feature. It is among the security features of the ballot paper. The ballot paper has various security features, and stamp is one of the security features, and therefore she'll also be expected to stamp at the counterfoil of that ballot paper. Every ballot leaf has a counterfoil.
Okay. So she stamps on the ballot itself and on the counterfoil.
Yeah, and that is at the back, yes.
Does the
but the counterfoil on the top of the counterfoil.
On the top of the counterfoil.
On the face, we call it the face. Yes.
Any possibility of the clerk forgetting to stamp?
Now, the clerks will be well trained. The current staff we are using, and she's doing it just slowly by slowly for the purpose of demonstration, the clerks will be well trained to do that. And we don't expect the clerks to fail stamping the ballot papers. It is an offense when they don't do it.
It is an offense?
Yes.
Does the voter have a civic duty to politely remind the clerk in the event that he or she has forgotten to stamp that, hey, you know what, I don't think there's a stamp here?
The voter can do it, but again, we also have the presiding officer and the deputy presiding officer in the polling station. They have a responsibility to ensure that all the ballot papers issued to voters are stamped on the back.
Okay. All right. So the next step?
So from there, she will move on to the next clerks. We will have about 6 clerks.
How many, sorry to disrupt you, how many papers does he have now?
He has 3. He has the ballot for the presidential election, the member of national, which is green, and then the county assembly, which is brown.
Okay.
So at the next clerks, we will have about 6 clerks in the normal election, but for the purpose of simulation here, you see we have only picked 3. So we will have now the senator, the county woman member of National Assembly, and then the governor ballot paper issued at this stage. So we shall ensure that a voter has been given 6 ballot papers, and all of them stamped at the back, and the counterfoil also stamped. So the clerks will also direct the voter now to the booth, as you can see. I saw her direct the voter to the booth. So at this point, we expect the voter now to go to the booth. That is the booth. Remember, at this point, we cannot see what the voter is marking because it's supposed to be a secret ballot.
Who is closest to the voter at this point?
Nobody should be closest to the voter. But the presiding officer must be standing at an area where he can be able to see that the voter is marking the ballot paper so that they don't pocket them or they don't fail to go and cast them in the ballot boxes. Because it is an offense to be given a ballot paper and you walk away with it. They should cast it in the various ballot boxes. Yes.
What about those, our brothers and sisters who need some special requirement? Those who are hard on seeing, hard on hearing, the blind, the deaf, how do you get them to this stage where we are, where now they are in the booth?
Yeah, for voters who are not able to read because of various reasons, the law provides for them to come with somebody to assist them, and that person must have attained the age of 18 years, meaning that they must have a national identity card or probably a passport to identify them. And in the event a person does not have a person to assist them, then the law requires that the presiding officer can assist that voter, but only in the presence of the agents who are present in the room. Yeah.
So the agents must be present?
The agents must be present only when the presiding officer is assisting the voter.
The voter?
Yes. And at that point, when the voter walks in with a person to assist them, that voter must fill Form 32, which is an oath of secrecy. Just to ensure that he is able to keep the secrecy of the ballot. You will not go saying that this voter voted for so-and-so. Yeah.
What about the blind one?
Now, the blind ones, the commission has, in the past, has printed ballot, what do you call them, braille materials for the blind. But for this time, I also want to believe the same will be done. And if they have not, then a person to assist them should accompany them.
Should accompany them?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so he has marked?
So he has marked the 6 selective ballot papers, and therefore from there he'll proceed now to cast them in the ballot
I'll just
boxes.
Create some space so that you can walk him to...
So we'll begin with the presidential ballot box, and of course you place the white one. We'll ensure that the voter places the white one. The white one matches with the lid of the presidential ballot box. Therefore, it goes inside the ballot box. Remember, when we began, the ballot boxes were empty. And usually before 6 a.m. in the morning, the presiding officer must demonstrate the emptiness of the ballot box. He must display that the ballot boxes are empty and they have nothing inside to the agents who are present. And then again, they must put the seals. You can see we have put the seals. You must now seal the ballot box. Remember, these are lids which are detachable. But now, in the morning before 6 a.m., when the agents are present, then they seal the ballot box. But they leave the aperture. We have this vacant place here. The opening here is called the aperture. So we leave the aperture open to allow the voter to cast their ballot paper inside. Now you realize that the seals have serial numbers. And therefore the agents together with the presiding officer must capture the number of the serial of the seals. So that in the evening or any other time that they want to close the aperture and probably they want to count, they can always confirm that the serial numbers were not, the seals were not interfered with. And if in case the agents came with their own seals, the presiding officer can allow them to add their seals. These are security measures to ensure that, So
by the way, what about if somebody's, just out of mischief, decides to tamper with those seals? What does that mean?
That means that the election was interfered with. The polling process was interfered with, because the seals should not be interfered with during the day. And not even during the day. In the evening, once polling is over, we shall close the aperture and we shall seal it using another seal here. So during counting time now, it will mean that now when we convert the room to a counting station, it means now we shall cut the seals. For us now to empty the ballot box, the ballot papers, for us to count them. Unless we have, the law does not provide for us during the day to cut the seals. It only allows us to cut after polling is over.
After polling is over?
Yes. So that now we can empty the contents and then we begin counting the ballot papers.
So it opens at 6?
And closes at 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m.
But if we have voters on the queue at 5 p.m., then normally the presiding officer should secure the last voter, should request the security person who is there to secure the last voter. Normally we place the security officer behind the last voter so that we secure the line. And we don't expect somebody else now to move into the polling station.
So for those who are still on the queue,
they will be allowed to vote.
The clock strikes 5 and they are in the queue.
Yes.
They don't go back home.
They don't go back home.
Allow them
they're allowed to vote.
Come and vote.
Yes.
Tell me, those are the ones who can physically come to, for example, this polling station here. How about those who are incarcerated, for example? Will they vote?
You cannot vote from anywhere else apart from the polling station. We don't have online voting. We are yet to go there as a country.
How about...
So voting in Kenya is manual. And the voter must present himself or herself and they must vote manually. But the identification part of the voter is electronic.
Is electronic?
Yes, their biometrics must be identified.
So let me ask you.
Yes.
So what does that mean for our folks in the diaspora?
Now, our folks in the diaspora will also go through the same process. We shall have polling stations in those countries where we have our registrations, our polling stations. And they will be voting manually like we are doing here. And they'll be voting at the same time as you are voting here.
So those who are in conflict with the law and who are incarcerated will not vote. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. You can only vote when you walk to the polling station. You must present yourself. You cannot send somebody to vote for you.
Even for the presidential?
And even for the presidential, you cannot vote online. And even in the prisons, we are going to have polling stations in the prisons. We have voters registered in the prisons.
In the prisons?
Yeah.
So they will
And they
vote.
will only vote for the presidential election.
Yeah, so they will vote.
They
the
will
ones
vote,
who are in prison.
Yes, they will vote manually. Those who are
Okay,
registered
that's
as
clear.
voters.
Or those who are registered
They
as
will,
voters.
yeah, they will vote manually. Like
Okay.
the way we are voting here.
They'll be a voting.
Yes.
All right. So, just to make sure that I got it right, the white ballot paper must be dropped in the ballot box that has a white
lid. Correct.
I think that's very important.
Yeah. So the voter must be very careful. Now, for the member of National Assembly, the lid is green. And therefore, the voter must check and drop it inside, cast inside what is green. And as you can see, the voter has folded the ballot paper vertically. We expect them to
That's what I
fold
wanted
it like
to ask.
that.
Is there some science there?
There's some science.
How about if I vote it horizontally?
There's likelihood that if you fold it horizontally, that the marking ink could interfere with the marking area, such that
it could superimpose itself on another box.
Yes, so it could lead to a rejected ballot paper. We could find a ballot paper with more than one mark because the ink was able to spill over to another marking area. So we'll continue with voting.
Can you just give the presiding officer? We want to see how you have folded it. I don't know whether the camera can.
So when the clerks issue the ballot paper, you realize that the clerks will fold the ballot paper like that for the voter. Yeah, when they will issue it, they will fold it like this.
Also, the clerks will
just to remind or just to signal to the voter that is the same way. Once they mark, they should fold the ballot paper. In this way, you cannot interfere with the marking area. As you can see, the voter has marked. They have put their mark there. And therefore, when you fold vertically, it has not interfered with any other marking area.
Exactly.
But if you fold it this way, there's a likelihood of the box here, of the marking area here, ink, to spill over to the other area.
Exactly,
So we'll now proceed, and then the voter moves on to the member of county assembly. As you can see, the color is brown. Oh, it's beige.
It's beige.
I know.
Are you colorblind?
I'm not colorblind. I'm not a man.
All right.
So that is beige, and most of them will look at it as brown. And then we have the governor, which is blue. So the voter is doing a good job. And then we have the senator. Do we call this yellow? Yes. So you put the yellow ballot paper there. And then we have the last one, the woman member of National Assembly, and that is pink or purple. It goes in.
And those are 6.
Now, once they cast their ballot, as you can see, in the event the voter puts in the wrong ballot paper in the wrong box, it becomes a stray ballot. And that is why the presiding officer, together with the deputy presiding officer, they have a big responsibility of ensuring that the voter puts the right ballot paper in the right ballot box. And that is why it is important for us as IEBC to educate our voters that they should always ensure the ballot paper corresponds with the color of the lid of the ballot box. Now, at that point, we will have a clerk or the deputy presiding officer to mark the small finger of the voter. Now, the voter has finished casting his vote, and therefore we'll expect, come this way.
Just come, the voter.
Just come.
So that we can see you on...
come this way.
The viewer can see on the screen,
this was a very good voter, a very well-informed voter. So we'll expect that the clerks or the presiding officer will have somebody there, will have an official there, to mark the small left finger with this indelible ink, and especially the cuticle part. Now, this ink stays for a long time. I don't want to... I hope I've not interfered with your voting area.
It stays for a long time?
Yes.
So you don't want to mark it now, do you? Because probably he has a desire to vote.
I've actually marked it. But I'm sure he's going to wash it. So that is how you're going to mark it. I had to demonstrate that. That is how we are going to mark it. And then from there, we will ensure that the voter has his documents. And therefore, we will ask him kindly, we will tell him thank you for coming, and then we'll ask him kindly to leave the polling station.
Before you release it,
Yes.
There's this checklist, all right? How do you ensure that you've ticked all the boxes? Is there a document that your colleagues use to sort of follow through and tick all the boxes to ensure that...
For the voter?
Even for you.
Now, usually for the presiding officer, once before even they open the polling station in the morning, we have a polling station diary that we use to record all the happenings in a polling station.
Blow by blow.
Yes. You see the presiding officers and the other election officials in a polling station arrive on the eve of the polling day. And when they arrive, they have a polling station diary where they even input their details. These are the officials who have arrived. This is the time they have arrived. And then in the morning, these are the agents who have come and they have witnessed the opening of the ballot boxes and they append their signatures.
Do you also capture the profiles of the other stakeholders? For example, the party, the party representatives.
We capture the agents of various political parties. And we even have an area where we capture the observers who are present in the room. And we're also able to capture the serial numbers of the ballot papers.
Do you capture the media, for example?
Not really.
The reporters who
Not
come
really.
to...
Unless it is an incident, we have an area for capturing an incident. If there was an incident, a presiding officer can capture. And if they so wish, if it is necessary, they can also mention that even in the polling station, there was the presence of this and this and this group of people. So if the media happen to be part of them, then they can also be in the incident story. Yes.
So you have, it opens at 6 and it closes at 5.
At 5 p.m.
All right?
Yes.
So on the main day of voting, the media always has this cardinal role of wanting to update the viewers and the audiences of the results. So I don't know whether you have a mechanism where perhaps on an hourly basis or 2-hourly basis, once you have an update, then the reporters and the media houses across the country can then speak to the nation and say, opened at 6, but 2 hours on, this is what has happened so far, and so on and so forth. Is there a mechanism that allows that to happen so that the country, you know, you walk with the country through the entire process?
Yes, we have a mechanism in place. And as I said earlier, we have the polling station diary. And even looking at it, it has an area where you update the agents and you update the returning officer of the turnout during the day. The first reporting could be at 9, then we go to 11, we go to 1, we go to 3, and even again at 5 when we close the station. So at those different intervals, the presiding officer is expected to report or to update the returning officer and even the agents in the room. And even in the morning, the presiding officer has a responsibility of displaying the ballot papers to the agents. And they capture the serial numbers of the ballot papers.
Very useful. Tell me, there's this old story of ballot stuffing, box stuffing, and so on and so forth. Is that a thing of the past? Remember, we have history. So, you know, just for the sake of those who are watching, you know, do you want to settle them in the mind and in their hearts?
Yeah, ballot papers, if it was there, I do not know because I didn't work for the other commission. I worked for IIEC and I worked for IEBC.
But you may have audited those past events and, you know, mitigated them.
Yes, not really. But what I know is that with IEBC, ballot stuffing is like an impossibility. It cannot happen because we have agents in the room. And at every stage, we work with our agents. When a ballot paper is complete and you have finished giving out to the voters and you pick a new ballot booklet, you must tell the agents that now the first booklet is over and now we are picking the second one. And you even allow them to capture the serial numbers. So there is no room for manipulation. There is no room for ballot stuffing.
Let me ask this. Because, I mean, there's no room for manipulation.
Yes.
But sometimes we experience power blackouts. Any contingency to ensure that, you know, in case power goes off and you're still within the polling station. How do you cure that?
Now,
because a lot of things happen in darkness, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, my colleagues here will tell you that before any counting begins, all right? After we are done with polling and we convert ourselves into a counting room, before even talking to the agents and explaining to them what constitutes a valid vote, you start by lighting. We normally have a gas lamp. We have a gas lamp, which is here with us.
Do you have it? Do you want to show us?
Yes.
Where's the Jeep? Okay.
Movie.
Where is it?
These are deputy returning officers in various constituencies, and they can also show us the gas lamp.
Because it's a simulation, it would be nice just to see it, so that as we wrap up.
So that is the gas lamp. So we normally light this lamp, and in some areas we also have a backup of generators. So we normally light it up before counting begins. In some areas we also have solar light backup, so we are well equipped with backup power.
Okay.
So we don't envisage a total blackout because we have backup lights.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have some redundancy.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you at this point. Thank you for walking us through.
Yes.
Oh, any final comment you'd like to make before we wrap it up?
Yeah, so we are saying that that will be the polling procedure. And next time when we have enough time, we shall also demonstrate the counting process and even the result transmission process, and especially the result transmission for the presidential election. Otherwise, I want to wish Kenyans a peaceful election period, and we want to assure them that IBC is well prepared to conduct a very credible and fair election, so that the winner who wins fairly.
Thank you
in all elective positions.
Thank you for invoking the use of that word, peaceful, and thank you for coming through with your team. We want to thank you and also wish you well. Remember that 22, just slightly above 22 million voters will pick Kenya's 5th president, and of course other elective seats in the National Assembly and the County Assembly that has been eloquently articulated by the returning officer, Beatrice Muli. So at this point, we come to the end of this show. I want to thank you on behalf of the Prime Edition team. My name is Tom Mboya. On behalf of Lensa Odingo, I want to wish you a pleasant evening. Good night, and God bless. From Nairobi, Kenya. Bye-bye.
Kupata heshima kama skiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza star 811 star 759 hash.
Ukiwa mtu wa heshima, utaheshimiwa. Ukiwa mtu wa kupeana, nawe utapewa. Ukiwa wewe ni wa kudharau wengine, utadharauliwa. Ukiwa wa chuki, malipo ni yale yale. Ikiwa wewe ni mtu wa haramu, vile vile itakupata tu. Na kama wewe ni mtu wa kushauri kwa hekima,
kupata heshima, bonyeza star 811 star 759 hash. Star 811 star 759 hash.
How about we get married and live here together?
I'll marry you.
I can see that you're still in love with the prince. Why would you offer to marry the king?
Echo?
If you betray me, then all of our vows are void. I'll leave you and you won't see me again.
As campaign intensified for the upcoming general election, what does all this mean for you, the voter? What do the candidates have to offer? How prepared are agencies charged with the election process? Join John Kuria and Safina Chieng on Kenya Decides. This and every Tuesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 as we unpack elections 2022 with a panel of various stakeholders. Make informed electoral decisions.
Hibaridi ni mbaya, hibaridi
Hey.
Nimetetemeka ya kutosha. How are you doing, my good people of the 254 and beyond? I hope that you guys are keeping warm.
Absolutely, man, yeah? Kata simu, Miss V. Kata simu, tupo side.
Tupo side. Tupo side. If you're all about some entertainment news, all about knowing what has been happening in terms of concerts, what has been trending, I mean some 411 here and there, you are in the right place because that is what we are all about.
Absolutely, man. This is the show that, you know, your mother loves, your friends loves, yeah? So feel free like a boss. Tell your homies to tell their homies, yeah? Yani tuko on, tuko ploti, tupo side.
I go by the name Vivian Dago. You can simply just call me Miss V.
Jack Mula, the party daddy, or you can call me Papi, aka your girlfriend. Go my number, man.
And you know what this right here is?
Grapevine, baby.
What you gotta do?
We start off the show with the Umoja Splash Festival that is going down at the Carnival Grounds. Now this particular concert is all about preaching and promoting peace ahead of the August 9th elections. Headlining this reggae concert is none other than Eric Donaldson, the legendary Jamaican singer and songwriter who has been in the scene for years. Now he is well known for songs such as Traffic Jam, Cherry O Baby, just to mention a few. As you can already tell, the party has already started. What do you say we jump into it?
If you try, we got to say, don't sit down there. Wheelman.
Reggae is a music genre that originated in Jamaica in the late 1960s. Stylistically, reggae incorporates some of the musical elements of R&B, blues, jazz, and also draws influence from traditional African folk rhythm. Reggae is deeply linked to Rastafari, an Afrocentric religion